yeah. Welcome to Dave and Johnny Live. I am Dave, and this is Johnny. And also, this is Johnny. What's up, Johnny?
I'm well. Yourself?
I'm doing well. We're here. This is week 2 of the shutdown of everything because of the corona. And we're social distancing. We're keeping isolated. I haven't really left my house in 5 days. The only time I've left my house in the past 5 days is to go bring the light to you because you're well lit today. You're not as dark as you were last week. We have this light that I left at your door, and then I called you and said, "Come outside. There is a light." And then I saw you from a distance, and we spoke briefly there, and then I drove away, and that's the only leaving of the house that we're doing currently. We're trying to flatten the curve. We're trying to make sure that there's no more coronavirus, trying to get rid of this thing so we can go back to normal life. But in the meantime, Johnny North joining us via satellite here on Dave and Johnny Live. The shows don't stop, but the way we do them, has to change a little bit. But hey, man, this is my favorite time, man. This is the best. I get to see Johnny North. We get to hang out with all of you. We get to talk some professional wrestling. We're going to review Dark Side of the Ring, the Chris Benoit story, parts 1 and 2 that we both had time to watch. I think a lot of people had time to watch because what else are you doing right now? I think a lot of people are watching a lot of TV. I know I am. Man, there's not much else to do. So, you're inside, you're playing video games, and you're watching TV, and you're hanging out with whoever is in your immediate vicinity. Johnny North, how are you doing with this whole lockdown? Everything good?
I'm great. Like I told you, I think last week, not much has changed for me. It's just no gym, so that's kind of disappointing, but I found ways around that, fortunately. But I'm a little surprised with you. I thought you'd be at TSN Studios all the time this week
Why?
because you work there.
Yeah, well, I had a couple days off booked earlier this week, so I didn't have to go into work. And then I don't know, it just kind of worked out. Like I had I have like a couple days off, and then yeah. Why are you asking so many questions, John? Let's just say I was supposed to. I normally would have worked Monday and Tuesday, but I had those days
Okay.
booked off, like a long time ago because I was supposed to go see the Yankees and Blue Jays play at the Olympic
Ah,
Stadium. So I had booked off those days of work. And then they asked me, like, "Oh, I guess you're not going to see baseball because there's no baseball going on, obviously. Do you want to work?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'd rather stay home and kind of avoid humans." So I just remained on the couch because I was like, "Yeah, I'll take 2 extra days off work now. Like, I do have to go into work. I do have to do my regular job. And I'm going into work tomorrow. And it makes me nervous every time, man. It makes me nervous seeing people at this point. I don't want to see anybody. I want to stay locked down. I want to stay home. I don't want to go outside. So any opportunity I have to not work and stay home, I'm taking right now. And I might take even more going forward. We'll see. We're going way too deep, Johnny. We really shouldn't be talking about this stuff.
well, I was curious, so I'm glad you actually elaborated on that. I was wondering, so good luck to you.
Yeah, I'm going to work tomorrow, and then the next day, and then the day after that, and the day after that. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know, man. I don't want to go outside right now at all.
So you haven't been to the grocery store then?
No, I haven't been in a while. We have a lot of
Oh,
stuff. We stocked up.
have fun if you ever go again, because now they have lineups just to get in now. So there's
Yeah,
only
I
so many
know.
people in at a time.
Can I still order a pizza?
I think so, but you have to work it out where it'd be like delivered like at the door and they just wait for it. So
It's
I don't
weird.
know how that works.
I don't know. I might order a pizza later, and we'll see how that works. I don't know, man. I'm trying to avoid human
Yeah.
contact as much as possible. It's a scary world right now, but I think we'll get through it in a couple more weeks. Hopefully. I don't know, man. No one knows.
Well, I made the mistake yesterday because when I went to the store in the morning, Not a lot of people, not too bad. But I forgot I wanted to get a lot of water because I need it for my protein shakes. And I'm like, oh, or twice in one day, that kind of would look bad, I think. So I went to another store. I went to the Super C, and that was packed. So that was a bad idea.
Why are you going to the grocery store twice in one day? It's not smart to even do that. You should make a list, plan in advance, and when you go like a commando. You go in there, you're like wearing a mask, you're wearing glasses, you're fully prepared, and then you do your thing, and then you don't go for 2 weeks. You got to get like a huge stock of stuff, and then just move.
Yeah, in hindsight, that's what I should have done. But one thing I forgot was getting water, and so I had to do it again, unfortunately. And the worst part was like, oh, I have room in my bag, so I can get a lot of water. So then I broke my bag doing that. So then carrying all that water and almost ripped the bag of the water bottles. So yeah, it was a lot of bad moments there.
Disaster, Big Johnny. Why are you going outside anyways? What are you doing?
Well, it's good actually to go outside every once in a while just to get some fresh air,
Yeah.
just to see the sun and get some sunlight.
Yeah, it's good to do that, and we need to be doing that as much as possible. But at the same time, when you're walking outside, you're supposed to avoid humans. So if you see another human on the sidewalk, I don't know if you've noticed, but I've noticed it. Like we are all just like swerving around each other. If I see somebody walking down the street, I cross the street. We're all crossing the street, walking in the street, avoiding each other. It's super eerie out there. It's so weird. I've never seen anything like this.
Well, you've seen it where my place is. It's kind of just like a deserted kind of road when you come up it. So there's not a lot of people there to begin with. And if there is, yeah, they just all go to the other side. So
Yeah, every street is like that right now, John. Every street. Every street is totally deserted. Everybody's indoors. As it should be. You know, that's how it should be because the more we keep to this, the more we stay inside, the better it'll be long term, and the quicker we can get back to some normality, some normal professional wrestling stuff, you know, some normal life. Roman Reigns isn't going to WrestleMania. We'll talk about that on Wrestling Uncensored. I'm not surprised. I think it was a wise move. Apparently, it was because The Miz was sick. Imagine The Miz showing up to work sick. You're showing up to WrestleMania week, the tapings, sick? Come on, Miz.
well, it's not just that. Wasn't Mysterio and Dana Brooke also sent home?
Yeah, were they sent home? What's the deal with that? There are rumors about Rey Mysterio. I don't know. I hope Rey's all right, but somebody on Twitter told me that Rey has coronavirus. Like, I hope that's not true. That's just a rumor right now. I don't think that's confirmed by anybody or Rey Mysterio or anything. But yeah, there are rumors out there that some of the WWE people might have it or have symptoms and are worried. It's bad. And there are also rumors out there that Roman isn't the only one that's not making it to Mania. Like, a few other people will not be on the card for different reasons. Either they don't want to show up or they can't make it or they're not feeling well or whatever. There's the Mania card that we're going to see next weekend, is not the Mania card that we think we're going to see, right? Already we know it's going to be Goldberg versus Braun Strowman and not Roman Reigns. That's going to happen.
Right.
It's bad.
Well, I would have actually gone with Matt Riddle, but I don't think they really thought this ahead of time and like, well, that would be a great idea for a storyline, just to throw that together. But Braun kind of works too because Braun is kind of now the big new heel in wrestling because he upset everyone with his tweets, or I think it was his Instagram post.
Yeah, he's been kind of a jerk, eh?
What he said was very cruel, terrible to say. And I think he deleted his post, so I think he realized it in hindsight. But at the time, I think he was just bored and just wrote what he thought, and everyone pretty much crucified him for it.
Well, he's saying, I mean, indie wrestlers were out there. I think there was a GoFundMe or a Kickstarter or something like that, trying to raise money for some
Right.
of these indie wrestlers that don't have a lot of money, that now have zero work. And Braun Strowman just kind of made fun of that and was like, oh, you're not making any money. You should figure out ways to make money, not beg people and everything. And people were like, look, Braun, just because you're a millionaire WWE wrestler. And then a lot of other people were saying in the WWE, like, yeah, you should support these guys. I know Shelton Benjamin came out in support of these guys and a lot of other people. So Braun Strowman, I'm sure, is taking a lot of heat for his dumb comments. I mean, come on, man. We're here trying to support indie wrestling as well. I encourage you to buy indie wrestling shirts right now. These wrestlers need your support. Johnny North, I think you still have a few smalls and a few XLs of this super awesome shirt that I'm wearing right now. The Genesis Johnny North special here. Very sweet Johnny North shirt that I'm wearing. And you could be wearing this shirt. But you have to contact Johnny North at North Genesis on Twitter, at Genesis Johnny North on Instagram. Go buy his shirt. Go buy, any number of indie wrestler stuff. Our buddy Green Phantom, hit him up for some gear right now, because indie wrestling is not making any kind of money right now. Indie wrestling is out of business, and for Braun Strowman to kind of say, "Oh, what's your problem? Screw you guys," it's not the right tone to strike right now.
No, and I think he realizes that, but it's too little too late at this point. Now everyone hates him. And maybe WWE could take advantage of that, make him the new big heel in wrestling, and then Roman comes back and slays the dragon.
That would be smart, but are they usually that smart? Do they usually make moves like that?
Well, what do you want? Do you want Goldberg or do you want Braun Strowman? I don't think you'd like it either way.
Daniel Winston has a question, but I'm not really understanding your question, Daniel. Do you think Roman Reigns is going to have a face put a Universal title against Goldberg? I don't know what he means.
Is he going to face? Probably means is he going to face him one day? Probably, right?
Like down the road, you mean? I don't know. Do you think Goldberg
Right.
beats Braun?
It's not impossible. I mean, if they really have their sights set on Goldberg and Roman, and Goldberg agrees to stay until SummerSlam, I think they'd do it.
I don't know. I don't know if Goldberg's gonna retain here. I'm not too sure what they do, and I don't really care. Quite honestly, I don't really care. Braun Strowman winning, Goldberg winning, whatever. Roman Reigns isn't in the picture. Everything kind of changes. It's strange. It's strange now how everything is changing. It's strange that they're taping so much in advance. How do you feel about Mania spoilers? Do you want them, or are you trying to stay away? I'm trying to stay away. I don't want to be spoiled. I know that they're taping Mania, which sucks. It's the biggest show of the year. It's not being done live, so there's the opportunity for it to be spoiled. Now, usually spoilers come from the audience, but there are people inside. I'm sure there are leaks somewhere, and I think, the spoilers are going to come out in one way or another, but I'm going to try and avoid them because I want to try and enjoy WrestleMania as much as possible.
Well, apparently they've taped the next 2 weeks. Even the Raw after WrestleMania has been taped apparently, because I guess now where they're staying in Florida, they're in shutdown mode, so they can't film anything anymore now apparently.
Yeah, so they're
So they had
filming.
to.
Yeah, they're filming several weeks of TV, right? Post Mania, I guess. What, a couple Raws and a couple SmackDowns?
All I heard was the post Raw after Mania. I don't know if they filmed anything more after that. I imagine NXT, because I guess they have NXT planned out.
Yeah, what's the deal with NXT? Are they having those matches at WrestleMania?
They're going to be on NXT instead.
Oh, just NXT TV?
So I imagine we're going to see that throughout the month, I guess.
Okay. I get it. It's something for NXT, but it's still empty arena NXT, right?
Right, but you still get the matches, and they're going to have somewhat of a build to it, so people still get what they want to see, right?
Yeah, I haven't really been enjoying this kind of NXT, the empty arena show I watched this week. It was all right, but it wasn't anything special. And when you're going against that in the United States, going against AEW, which was a great show again this week, it's hard to beat, and it's hard to beat AEW.
Well, I thought NXT obviously a better show because there was actually matches this week. It's just hard AEW because it seems like they're on a bit of momentum right now. They're building it. They're getting new stars, so there's a lot more interest, I think, in AEW.
I see another question from our buddy Daniel Winston via Super Chat. You can Super Chat us as well. We'll answer any of your questions you have, any kind of comments, anything you want us to cover. Just hit us up on the Super Chat, just like Daniel Winston did. He says he meant to say, okay, I understand. Do you think Goldberg is going to face off Roman Reigns for the Universal title? Like, is he going to face Roman for the Universal title down the road? I would say yes. I don't think that Braun necessarily beats Goldberg here. I don't think there's any reason to put the title on Braun Strowman right now. And, I would say Goldberg probably retains at Mania, and they do that Roman versus Goldberg match where Roman gets to become Universal Champion down the road. I think Goldberg probably sticks around. If he's willing to do Mania under these circumstances, I'm sure he's willing to stick around and do another match, possibly at SummerSlam in August, which is supposed to be in Boston, and I am really hoping that goes down. So I would say, Goldberg and Roman will wrestle at SummerSlam for the title, and I think SummerSlam is going to become the WrestleMania. If SummerSlam does happen and everything is all right, SummerSlam is going to be a major, major show in August for the WWE. It'll be the biggest show of 2020 because usually the biggest show of the year is WrestleMania, but not this year, obviously, under the circumstances. If we can get back to crowds, get back to fans in attendance for wrestling shows, I think that SummerSlam show is going to be massive for the WWE.
Well, there's a good chance that might be the first pay-per-view back with an actual crowd again. So, yeah, of course that could be fantastic. But that's still a long ways away. That's August, so.
Well, I hope that we get it. I hope that we get SummerSlam. We still don't know, right? But, yeah, it's a long ways away, but it's really not. You know, it's not that far off. It's the big show of the summer, and I think that's really going to be the big one. As far as WrestleMania this year, like, the excitement is not there. Obviously, just the format of the show, the fact that there's going to be no crowd. The card, to begin with, wasn't really getting us that excited even before this whole pandemonium. But now, it's just like, whatever. I'm not that hyped for WrestleMania.
Well, I'm going to throw out a theory here. I could see Braun win the Universal Championship, and we still get Goldberg versus Reigns, but in Saudi Arabia, because they still have to do another Saudi Arabia event this year. So maybe they do that number one contenders match. The winner faces Strowman at SummerSlam.
I guess, but then why put the title on Braun Strowman? Why? What's the point? What's the point of having him beat Goldberg? I don't think he should be the one to beat Goldberg. Goldberg is virtually untouchable. No one's beaten Goldberg other than Brock Lesnar. And who else? Who else beat Goldberg? Nobody. Right? Taker?
Yeah, I guess Taker. Yeah, sure.
Kind of. In that terrible match. Yeah. So, like, nobody's really beaten Goldberg. Goldberg stops The Fiend. Braun Strowman shouldn't be the guy to beat Goldberg. It should be Roman Reigns. Like, just based off how the WWE is designed, it should be Roman.
Well, should, and then what happens? Two different things, right? Because they got thrown a curveball, and now they have to make something out of this. I wouldn't be surprised. Braun's a big guy. It's never a bad idea to put the title on a big guy.
He's a big guy. But, no, I think Roman Reigns makes way more sense. Braun Strowman has not been built in a way where he is even believable at this point beating Goldberg. He just got beat by Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental Championship. It doesn't make sense for Braun right now to be the guy to beat Bill Goldberg. Just because Goldberg was supposed to lose at WrestleMania doesn't mean you still have him lose now that Roman Reigns is gone. I think that Braun Strowman is not the guy. Roman Reigns is the guy. It's his yard. He's the big dog. Hoo-wah! And I know that Antoinette loves it. Thank you, Antoinette, for dropping that super chat. We see you. We love you. And she knows, just like I know, that it's Roman's yard, and if anybody's going to beat Bill Goldberg, it's Roman Reigns. He needs to be the one to take that Universal Championship. He needs to be the one to be the top guy on SmackDown, and then let all the challengers come to him. Then Braun Strowman can challenge and lose. Then The Fiend can challenge and lose. Then Daniel Bryan can challenge and probably lose. I was going to say win, but, who are we kidding? So I think it's Roman's time to finally be on top as a long reigning champion. And just because, he's choosing his health over that right now doesn't mean that should be stopped. It should be put on pause like everything else in the world and continued when we're ready to get back to business. And when Roman is ready to get back to business, he should become the Universal Champion by beating Bill Goldberg at one of these big shows from the WWE like a SummerSlam. So just as well as I do that the WWE is designed around Roman Reigns. He's the whole effing show, and it's time for him to really get a nice long run as the world champion. It's time for him to beat that icon in Bill Goldberg and take the top spot on SmackDown. It just makes sense.
Yeah, I think there's no question about it. In the end, somehow, some way, Roman Reigns is going to be the champion. And I think it's great that actually he decided he put his health first instead of risking it, because you just never know at this point.
Indeed. And we're going to talk more about that on Wrestling Uncensored this week. Big Johnny, I wanted to talk about Dark Side of the Ring, the Chris Benoit, well, not really, I guess the Chris Benoit story, the Nancy Benoit story, just the whole, what happened with Chris Benoit. I don't need to go into the grisly details of it. They went into it on the show. I thought it was very well done. I love these Dark Side of the Ring documentary series. I think it's a fantastic series. Really well done there on Viceland. Great stuff. And I thought this one was great. I was prepared for it to be emotional. It was very emotional. It was hard to watch at times, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. Jericho's interview was just fantastic. Chavo, Vicky Guerrero, Sandra, Nancy's sister, just fascinating stuff. And of course, Chris Benoit's son, David Benoit, who you feel so bad for watching this thing. I just felt so badly for David Benoit because you saw how much he loved his dad and how much he loved his brother Daniel as well. Like he didn't just lose his father in this. He also lost his brother Daniel, and he also lost, like a mother figure in Nancy. He loved Nancy as well, and this really struck him and changed his life forever and put him on this different path. And it's a strange spot that he's in now because, of course, he's going to love his father. But, then there's that other thing that happened, and it was really emotional. It was hard to watch. I shed a couple tears. I'm not scared to admit that. It was difficult. John, you and I were big Chris Benoit fans when he was alive, and then when he did what he did, when he, killed his son and his wife and then himself, it was really hard to take, and it's still hard to take to this day. 9 years later, it's still hard. It still hurts, and it's still baffling as to how this all happened. It was a great documentary, but very, very sad as well.
Extremely sad, at times intensely sad. Just seeing these people that have pretty much survived and now trying to move on with their lives, it's really tough to see that it destroyed them in so many ways. You see that JR apparently can't even talk to Nancy's sister. He got kicked out of the funeral. Like that's rough. Yeah. And then WWE stayed away from the Benoit family and Nancy's family. So it created a lot of rifts right there. A lot of lack of trust. That's hard.
Yeah. And, they could tell that something was wrong with Chris. The death of Eddie Guerrero just affected him so much, and you could tell that was something that really changed him, and you can understand why. But just hearing about it when Vicky's talking about Chris going into Eddie's room and just sobbing for hours, it's just, he shouldn't have been on the road. I just wish somebody would have taken him off the road and given him the help that he needed to grieve, because maybe this all could have been avoided. Obviously, the brain trauma as well, the concussions, the CTE that he went through played a role. I think it was like a tornado of things. It was a bunch of different factors that went into what happened there at the end with Chris Benoit. And it's one of the saddest things that's ever happened in wrestling. It's just horrible. And it's hard, it's hard to deal with, but so much respect to Vicky and to Chavo and to David and to Sandra and to Chris Jericho for doing that, putting themselves through that. Dean Malenko as well, for talking about it and shedding some light on what happened and maybe what Chris's mindset was like. I didn't know the detail. I mean, I knew that Chris had taken Eddie's death hard. I knew about the diary that he was given to write to Eddie. I knew about a lot of that stuff. I didn't know that he would go to Eddie's house and cry there with Vicky. I mean, that is, I didn't realize how close Vicky and Nancy were either. That part of the story, the family, real people, it's just so heartbreaking. It was really well done, man, but it brought back a lot of emotions, man. You could tell I'm getting emotional just talking about it. It was heartbreaking. It's so sad. It's so sad what happened. Because we love Chris Benoit, man. We love Chris Benoit. And it's hard to talk about him in any kind of positive terms given how it all ended up.
It's a terrible situation. Horrible. And it's just amazing to see how these people are moving on with their lives so many years afterwards. I just thought that they kind of did a disservice to Kevin Sullivan. They made a lot of accusations towards him, and he wasn't given an opportunity to defend himself. They gave this one little line where he denies the accusations, but you don't get to hear from him. So I thought that was kind of disappointing.
But the accusations that he was abusive towards Nancy?
Right.
But he chose not to participate. I mean, I think that they probably tried to interview him and he just denied the accusations. That's what it seemed like to me, that he just didn't want to participate, or maybe they didn't want to hear from Kevin Sullivan. I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, it didn't make Kevin Sullivan look very good, but at the same time, I don't know. I'm not here to defend Kevin Sullivan in any kind of way, given what he's been accused of. And Nancy's sister seemed pretty believable on all that.
Well, that's it. I mean, it's always great to get one side of the story, but not to get the other side of the story. I thought that was kind of lacking. You also didn't hear from Chris Benoit's daughter. There was no mention of her whatsoever.
Right, he's got a daughter.
Yeah, Megan, I think.
Huh. I didn't even know. And she is...
Well, that's how you watch that.
She is with the first wife, right? David's, sister?
I believe so.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Maybe she didn't want to participate. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think you needed to hear from everybody. I think, you got to craft it in a certain way where you don't have too many voices and it gets kind of muddied. You want to get specific stories out there. I'm sure everybody has a story, though. But I thought it was really well done. I thought it was great. I love Dark Side of the Ring. I can't wait for the next one. I know they have one on Owen Hart coming up. And, man, I'm already preparing myself. I knew the Benoit stuff, it was going to be hard to watch and it was going to be emotional. But the Owen is going to be really hard to watch. They've interviewed Owen's widow, Martha, and Owen's son, Oj, for the documentary. I can't wait to see that. Like, I'm excited to see it, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, this is going to be hard to watch, man.
Again, another horrible tragedy in wrestling. There was way too many of them so far.
Oh, Big Johnny. Big Johnny. Oh, man. It's tough with Benoit, you know. He was such a great wrestler. He was so good. He's got so many great matches, so many great moments. That match that he had in Kansas City with Brett, the Owen Hart tribute match that they had on Nitro, one of my favorite matches, such an emotional match. It was so special, but now you can't really talk about it. Brett handpicked Chris Benoit to wrestle him in that match. You know, it was the first match Brett had, I think. Was it the first match Brett had since Owen died? It was definitely the first match he had in Kansas City.
I think it was his first match back since the incident, and yeah, in Kansas City as well.
And he handpicked Benoit to have it. I'll never forget that match. I'll never forget that match. I'll never forget how, you know, they started off technical wrestling, but then it got a little bit more competitive, and they started throwing strikes. You know, like it started respectful, but then it got competitive. Like it was such a beautiful match. It was so good. And Chris Benoit was part of so many of those classic matches, but I don't watch them anymore.
Well, I think JR said it on the doc, where it's like, as a wrestler, he's one of the greatest of all time. It's just what he did. Now you can't ever appreciate for what he did, his career. It's just sad. He can't ever go to the Hall of Fame. How people realize that now and stop asking for it.
I think at some point, though, it would be nice to put Nancy in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I agree. Sure. But, I mean, it's tough, right? I mean, look how long they took to get Bulldog in there. And,
yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, there's no real problem to put Bulldog in there, but it took so long because the Hearts, it's controversial. And Benoit is controversial.
Yeah. I'm not saying you do it this year, next year type of thing, but down the road one day. Jericho mentioned it on the documentary, putting Nancy, she was woman in WCW, a pioneer of wrestling managers, and she deserves a spot in the Hall of Fame. It's not her fault, you know. Nothing's her fault. She's deserving to be in there, so I think one day she will be, and I hope we can see her go into the Hall of Fame one day. I'm looking forward to the new episodes of Dark Side of the Ring. I think they're going to drop every week now, and I'm liking it. I think the rest of the series isn't going to be as hard to watch. The Owen Hart one will be, but I know they have a few. I think they have one on the Road Warriors. Like, do you know what they have coming up here?
They got New Jack.
Oh, yeah, New Jack.
Brawl for All.
Oh, Brawl for All. I can't wait for that. That's going to be awesome. New Jack, Brawl for All. Let's see here if I can get more. Oh, Jimmy Snuka. Ooh, that's going to be rough. And the death of Nancy Argentino. The assassination of Dino Bravo. That's also going to
really
happen.
rough.
Yeah, Dino Bravo, who was killed in Montreal in some sort of organized crime deal. Dino Bravo, of course, wrestled for the WWF. Then they're going to do David Schultz, which will be interesting. Herb Abrams, who ran the UWF there, right? He was kind of a wacky promoter who died. Then Owen Hart. And then the final episode will be the Road Warriors. So I guess a lot of focus on Hawk and his issues. I was kind of surprised they're doing an episode on the Road Warriors. I don't really get it.
Well, just how they were the greatest tag team, I think, of all time for a lot of people, and how they pretty much fell from grace.
Oh, Animal's still fine.
Right, but as a team, though, that's it. The Road Warriors, not just one in particular.
So Hawk.
I mean, yeah, it's great Animal was able to still have a career, but it really hurt the legacy of the tag team when Hawk died.
Yeah, well, Hawk had demons, as we say in the wrestling business, right?
Sadly.
But that's why, like, demons, I'm kind of surprised. Like, that's a dark side of the ring? Really, Hawk? Like, how many other wrestlers had demons? Like, I wonder what the whole story will be with Hawk. Like, what... I wonder. Like, I know that there are Hawk stories out there. Didn't Hawk get into a fight with another wrestler and had some sort of lawsuit going on for a long time? Who was that?
I don't remember in particular. I just remember reading the Animals book where he'd say that him, Rick Rude, Hawk, they'd always get into fights at the bars. So
I
I'm
think
not surprised.
It was Randy Savage.
Not surprised whatsoever.
Hawk and Randy Macho Man Savage got into real fights. They actually fought at a bathroom. Like, they saw each other at a concert outside of wrestling, and they fought for real. And people were frightened because two gigantic jack dudes were beating the shit out of each other. And there were lawsuits that went back and forth. I'm not sure how that all ended up, but hopefully they cover that on the Road Warrior stuff, right? The Macho Man versus Hawk real heat. They for real hated each other.
Well, I think this is the selling point of this doc series is the fact that it shows you stuff and reveals stuff that you never knew about.
Apparently, Too Cold Scorpio and Hawk got into a fight, and Scorpio won, and it was in North Korea?
Well, Scorpio knocked me out, so I'm not surprised by that. He is definitely a tough SOB for sure.
That's right. Flash Funk, baby. He could throw those kicks. You felt those kicks. You have any matches coming up?
What do you think? They officially finally canceled the Torture Chamber show that was supposed to happen on Sunday.
Yeah.
So.
Nothing,
like, at least until May. And even then, I'd be surprised.
Dang. Daniel Winston says, he meant to say, does Roman Reigns versus Goldberg happens because they signed a contract? Okay, so they signed a contract on TV. So does that mean that they... But, I mean, card is always subject to change. They signed a contract doesn't mean that they can't get their way out of it somehow, right? They can always wiggle their way out of one of these TV contracts.
Well, card subject to change. I mean, Roman couldn't compete when he was supposed to be able to compete. I mean, you could say, like, oh, he's guaranteed a title shot, sure, but it doesn't have to be Goldberg in particular. He wasn't available at this date. He doesn't get the shot now, but maybe he gets it later. But if Goldberg's not champion, oh well.
Or maybe Roman Reigns says, look, I had leukemia. This coronavirus is a little bit scary, so I'm not going to show up to WrestleMania. Instead, I'm going to give my contract to Braun Strowman. Or, I don't know, Roman Reigns gets speared by Bill Goldberg. And I don't know. I don't know how the WWE is going to explain Roman's absence. I guess we'll have to find out on SmackDown. I think they're going to explain it somehow. They have to do something, right?
Oh, they'll just brush it under the rug. Just say, wasn't able to compete for what wasn't cleared. That's all they have to say.
Wasn't medically cleared to compete?
Wasn't Jon Moxley not medically cleared to compete for 2 weeks now? Now he's okay?
Is he?
Yeah. I think that's what they were saying.
Well, he attacked Jake Hager.
Right.
And he was on WWE Backstage.
That was fantastic. I popped for that.
Yeah, that was good, right? Renee and Booker T and Xavier Woods are doing WWE Backstage, and it looks kind of like our show right now, doesn't it? Isn't it weird how, like, every show on TV or the internet or whatever pretty much looks like this right now?
It's good, though, the fact that they're still going on. They're finding ways, like we are.
That's right. But I like that our production value is just as good as WWE Backstage or like ESPN or anything at this moment. Solid.
Even better than, I think, some of ESPN, actually.
Boom. How about that? Killing the game, Big Johnny. Killing the game. All right. You want to wrap this thing up? You want to see anybody's got final comments here on the chat? Anybody have some final words? Just give a shout-out to everybody on the chat. AJ DeLesio, my main man. Good to see you there. Antoinette, of course. Daniel Winston. Woods MMA. Who else is here? Bob Cote, Ghabs33. Ghabs33 says you look like a young Bret Hart. That's a nice compliment. I know you love that.
Yes, it's a great compliment. I love how in our video it's clips of me and then Brett right away. It's a nice touch.
Yeah, it makes sense. Derek John is on the chat. I see you, my man. Yeah, and so many other people. So many other people on the chat doing it big. Thanks for everybody joining in, everybody watching, everybody hooking it up on the super chat. We love you. Thank you for supporting the Ringside Report Network. Thank you for watching Dave and Johnny live on YouTube and Facebook Live. Yeah, throw in one thing.
Well, someone asked me on Instagram to review a movie on Netflix, so I watched The Irishman pretty much yesterday and today. You've seen that movie too, so this makes it even easier.
Several times.
Several times. Wow.
Yeah.
So I guess you liked it then.
I loved it.
I liked it, but man, it's long. Whoa.
Yeah, it is long. It was what, 3.5 hours?
Yes, it was, but it's just I felt after a certain point, it's like, man, that ending kind of dragged a bit.
What do you mean?
Like once he's pretty much by himself, De Niro.
Yeah.
Once everyone pretty much dies out, like I thought that just dragged.
Like when he's an old man in the hospital?
Yeah.
That didn't drag out.
Oh, I felt it did. I just felt the last like 20 to 30 minutes of that movie. It was like, well, this is not interesting anymore.
It's like 2 scenes.
Yeah, it felt a lot longer.
I don't know what you're talking about, John. I think it's a great movie.
It's definitely good. It's just I had some problems with it where it's just I had to stop because it's just so damn long. It's enjoyable, but to watch it straight through, I don't know if you're able to pull that off. I just was not able to pull that off.
Yeah, I could watch it through. I mean, I don't know if I ever have. It is a long time to sit there and watch a movie, but that's why you watch it in chunks, man. I loved it. I thought it was just fantastic. Joe Pesci, De Niro, Pacino, Keitel killed it. They were all fantastic in that movie. Man, I hear you paint houses. Yeah, yes, sir. And I also do my own carpentry too. Oh, very good, very good. I loved it.
The acting and writing were superb, amazing. I mean, it's worth it just to watch for that. It just some things I was a little off on. That fight scene, I don't remember the fight scene he had when someone went after his daughter.
Yeah, and he beats up the
guy. The guy up on the outside.
He looked terrible.
That was awkward.
He looked terrible.
That was really bad. Like, why did they film that?
I don't know. That was the worst part of the whole movie. De Niro looking like such an old man when he's supposed to be tough. He could like barely stomp the guy. It was very strange. But of course, AJ's boy Harvey Keitel was in the movie, as Woods MMA is pointing out. Wants us to do the Keitel scene. You know when Keitel's like, you know when De Niro's there because he blew up the thing that he wasn't supposed to blow up, and Pesci
the laundromat, I think,
yeah,
right?
and yeah, the laundry thing, and Pesci basically saves his life, and then Keitel goes to. I love Keitel's line. He goes, "This guy, this is a good friend of you. You don't know how good of a friend he is." He's talking about Joe Pesci. De Niro's like, I know. No, you don't know.
Yeah,
that was the best. And he doesn't. He's like, yeah, I know. No, you don't know. He's like, look, man, this guy was gonna. We were gonna let you get murdered right now. Your life was over if Pesci doesn't step in here. If Russell, damn, I'm forgetting his last name. You know, Russell. If Russell doesn't step in here, you're dead. You don't know. Tremendous.
Well, he's a big character in that Angelo, but he just doesn't have many parts, though, unfortunately.
Yeah. Russell Buffalino. Buffalino? I think that's his name.
I wasn't great on the last names. I just remember his name was Angelo.
Yeah.
The boss, pretty much.
Yeah. He was good, too. Oh, what a great movie. And now, next week, Johnny, you have to review Tiger King.
That's a movie?
No, it's a documentary series. You have to watch all of it. That's your homework for next week's episode of Dave and Johnny Live. I've watched it. It's great. I want to know what you think about Tiger King. Do you think that that lady killed her husband and fed him to the tigers? What's her name? Carol Baskin? Carol Baskin fed her husband to the tigers. Change my mind. Change my mind, Johnny North. Change my mind.
Okay.
Tiger King.
That's interesting.
Also, free Joe Exotic. Joe Exotic has been wrongfully imprisoned. We need to free this man. He is a credit to America. Not to tigers, though. Keep him away from tigers. He seems like a pretty bad guy with tigers. Tiger King. You got to watch it on Netflix. It's got everything. It's got Joe Exotic. It's got tigers. It's got a guy with several girlfriends for some reason who calls himself a doctor, and I don't think he's a doctor of anything. It's got murder and intrigue. It's got all sorts of stuff. It's fantastic. Tiger King. It's sweeping the nation. Everybody's watching it. I'm surprised you haven't caught on yet. Everybody's watching Tiger King.
I've been watching You so far. I haven't watched that yet, but I'll give it a shot for next week.
Okay. Free Joe Exotic. Do you all think that Carol Baskin murdered her husband and fed him to the tigers, or was it possibly a plane crash? What happened to Carol Baskin's husband, and should Joe Exotic still be in jail? That is the question for all of you for next week's episode of Dave and Johnny Live, where Johnny North will watch Tiger King, and we will review it together because it is the best thing going today.
If you say so. I mean, we'll see.
We'll see. I want to know your thoughts on Tiger King. I want to know what you think about Carol Baskin. Johnny North, I'll see you soon. We'll do Wrestling Uncensored. We'll have a good time. Wrestling Uncensored will premiere tomorrow on the channel, 10 a.m., Saturday morning. And, other stuff will happen. Dave and Johnny Live next week. You know what it is. RingsideReport.net. Follow Johnny North on Twitter at North Genesis. Follow him on Instagram at Genesis Johnny North. Follow me on all the things at Dave Simon MMA. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Thank you to Daniel and Antoinette. Thank you to everybody for being here. For Johnny, I'm Dave. This has been Dave and Johnny Live. Big kisses. Bye, 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 bye.